My name is Koliba. I'm a professor in community development and applied economics. I'm going to talk about designing for environmental governance. I have several big questions that drive my research. The first is how do networks of institutions and individuals govern environmental problems? And how can we bring governance design thinking to solve collective action problems, like the issues that we're dealing with right now with Lake Champlain and the phosphorus pollution. The perspective I'm taking in this particular paper, which I'm co-authoring with Adam Reynolds and Cynthia and Steve Shiner, is looking at the relationship between environmental management plans as blueprints for action, and comparing and contrasting two plans that were designed both to address phosphorus pollution, the 2010 TMDL and the 2010 OFA, Opportunities for Action. And I will sort of skirt through what a TMDL is: total maximum daily load, EPA-driven, OFA, Opportunities for Action by the Lake Champlain Basin program. We coded these plans for actors, ranging from federal down to local actors, public, private, and nonprofit. We looked at the policy tools that appeared in these plans, looking at the incentives, the carrots and sticks, as well as the rules and regulations and technical assistance that's provided. We coded these for tasks and task structures, and this is just an example of how one task structure was coded. We had initiating actors and implementing actors. Here with NRCS and livestock farms, we did this for every task that was identified in both plans. And we studied them for network basics, nodes, ties, density, centrality, etc. So we can begin to ask the question, what structure is more optimal for governing water quality within the Lake Champlain Basin? Here we have the TMDL plan with certain network structures that we'll analyze and show in a bit. And here's the OFA plan partnership network. And these are comparing and contrasting regulatory and planned partnership networks. And I would ask you to think about what are the characteristics of these networks that may work more effectively than others. So in studying the data, we found that the 2010 TMDL is a denser network, but has more isolates. That means more organizations that were separated from other task structures. We also examined that the TMDL, not surprisingly, it's EPA-driven. It's more of a top-down structure with more federal organizations represented, as opposed to the OFA, which is involves more local governments as a solution space for these problems. We also see that, interestingly, that both planned environments are homogeneous in their policy tool distribution. Public information, very similar across the board, as well as environmental regulation. In fact, the OFA, a partnership network, was actually making more recommendations for environmental policy. So this raises some interesting questions about policy versus partnership versus regulatory environments. The TMDL was also more ambiguous. And those of you that know the history of this plan was ultimately rejected. Actually, the 2002 version of this was rejected along this very line. We can begin to think about designing policy plans relative to their ambiguity. So we see that the OFA had much more specificity defined in it. So what are the implications for governance network design? Well, clearly our study shows that these plans are blueprints for institutional design in the planned environment. And that we wish and hope that the data that we're collecting on these plans can be used to deepen our situational awareness, perhaps deepen our capacity to design plans that have better fidelity and better impacts and more task specificity. Further implications of this research, this paper particularly advances methodological advances relative to tasks, implementation and fidelity we can study, isomorphism theory, and this relationship and trade-off between partnerships and regulations. Thank you.